Hello and welcome back to Mind of Success. I'm your host, Moni Millares, a Mexican British living in Asia. I work in fintech and build digital banks from scratch. In my years in the industry, I've realized most of us are in a vulnerable financial position. However, building a business can be a catalyst for change. So I created this podcast. It's about business stories we do not talk about. I chat with entrepreneurs, CEOs, and experts about their journeys, struggles, and lessons to extract gems of wisdom and practical tools so that we can thrive and create the impact we want. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with a very interesting mind. So today we've got Bruno Genovese. He is the general manager of MGEmpower, a global digital innovation agency. And basically, the reason why I brought Bruno to the show is because we met years ago in what I call the entrepreneurial journey. Both of us have the banking background, and then we met while we were both part of a team building a new bank. And since actually, full disclosure, Bruno was my manager back then, so we know each other quite well. And I know he's amazing. And not only he's amazing, but basically he did a career change, I would say, quite later in life, later in his career, which that's very important. It's good to make a career change when you're 20, but not when you have a family and it's more like stressful. So he went from working in banking to being a full-time entrepreneur, building the agency. So it will be a fascinating conversation to understand his experience and thought process, and also to give us some insights on how we can do better marketing. So Bruno, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Moni. Such a pleasure to be here. It was amazing to work with you a few years ago, and then it's now brilliant to reconnect. By the way, amazing is a word. Amazing is a word that I've learned to say more because I've worked with you. You say the word amazing all the time, and I now say the word amazing all the time. So it's amazing to be here. Thank you very much for the invite.
Good. My pleasure. No, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okie dokie. So I think what I just said right now, it's quite relevant. You made a big career change from a successful career in banking. Like you reached director level in several organizations. You had like the traditional banking and then the startup banking. And then at some point you were like, you know what? It's time to make a change. You were not in your early 30s. It was like later in life, you have a family. What was going on in your mind when you decided to change careers, basically?
No, good question, Moni. I actually always had the entrepreneurial seeds, within myself from an early age, right? When I was 12, 13, my dad used to own a language school back home in Brazil. And I saw, how interesting and exciting it was to run a business, but also how tough it was as well. And I could see the freedom he had. He didn't have a boss, and he could go home anytime to have lunch, dinner. So they were very flexible day to day. I love the way he, built the team and grew the business. And that was my role model early on. And that's where I decided to go into business. And I always had a dream from the age of 12, 13 to own my own business. There was always there since the start. But it was a long journey, and I can tell you a little bit more detail how we got there. Yeah. But it was a long journey from 12 to 39, 40 years old to make the leap. So there were several steps that led me to get there. So it was a long process through my life, and I can expand if you want, but the desire, the passion, and the vision and the dream were always there at the start, so that when the opportunity came, And when the situation was the right one, then it was an easy one to make. Of course, a bit scary, and it's a big jump. But deep in my heart, I was absolutely convinced it was the right thing to do. And now it's been a year and a half nearly since I made the jump, and it's been the best thing. So I don't regret it. I'm
Amazing.
super proud about it and so happy about it. And yeah, it was the best thing. But many years coming to get to that point, I would say.
Yes. That's a fascinating story. And I have like so many questions. I think like when we worked together, we didn't go into this level of detail. So now I
Yes,
have
yes,
questions.
yes. Yeah, go for it. I'm all
Yeah.
yours.
So basically, you grew up in a family where entrepreneurship was there. How, and I think I know the answer, but like, what what was so exciting about seeing your dad run his own business that marked your life in such a way that you were like since you were a teenager you were like I want to do this. What was that thing that sparked the sparkle?
So many things, right? First of all, the ability to help other people, make a difference in your community. I saw the growth story as well. So initially it was just one, language, school, and then was another unit, and then it was another unit. So it was an interesting growth story. Then there was the technology side where back in the day, there was no computers, and then we started introducing computers. And I even helped him at the time with spreadsheets and the first databases and all of that. So
Oh
I was a little
wow.
bit of a techie since the start, and I helped, the business at the age of 12, 13. And so the automation, the technology was interesting, the freedom, of being your own boss. But then also a big lesson for me was the client is your boss, right? The customer is your boss, right? You might not have a
Interesting.
direct boss, but the customer
It's
is
a
your boss,
boss.
and if the
Yeah.
customer is not happy, and then you are serving someone anyway, right? So that was a clear lesson as well, for sure. And that what made me choose to go into business at uni, and and then yeah, things moved on from there. But yeah, these were the key things that I observed with my dad that made me made me choose to go into business, and then eventually to be an entrepreneur myself as well.
Amazing. Now I'm conscious that I say amazing because you said that. And I'm like, oh, I was not conscious of that. But anyways, okie dokie. So you also mentioned that you made the jump from working in corporate or as an employee, let's say, into being a full-time entrepreneur when you were roughly 39, 40. That is not like when you're 25. You already
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
a kid back then. And you said there was fear. What was that fear and how did you cope?
I think what people don't see is what comes before that, right? Because it wasn't that overnight I decided to become an entrepreneur. It wasn't that at all. It was a choice that I had since early age, and I made steps in my career to get to that position, right? And I think when I worked with you in a fintech startup, that was one of the steps, right? So I think the first step, when I was at uni, I started my own business with a friend, and was the start of the internet. And we did websites back in the day, programming website,
Yeah.
HTML, and then we started to incubate a few businesses as well. Got an investor, so I did a little bit of entrepreneurship early on, and then the internet bubble came in 2001, and we had to close down. So it was a kind of a massive failure early on in my career, but a massive learning as well, which helped me mature at such a young age. So then that's where I chose to kind of pause the entrepreneurial dream and go into a corporate career. So I went into a big
Interesting.
corporation, American Express, um, still back in Brazil, but always with the spirit of learning and the spirit of experiencing, business and and clients and marketing and digital and technology. Always learning, but always with the spirit of making things happen, right? And being an entrepreneur within a corporation. That was always my career, right? At American
Yeah.
Express. And then I came to London, 10 years at HSBC, always launching products, disrupting and trying to innovate within a business and trying to make a difference, launch new products or launch a new marketing campaign. I was always an agitator, disruptor, and trying to make a difference with this entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit.
With
And
us.
that's where kind of I got fed up with HSBC and then went to work with you in a fintech startup, which was in one hand a nightmare, but on the other hand a
Exactly.
brilliant experience, which again was another
Yes.
step to prepare me to become a full-time entrepreneur. So it wasn't, well, I think in summary, it wasn't a big step overnight that I decided to become an entrepreneur. It was a number of things that culminated into that, which gave me more confidence and desire and experience to make the jump.
Yes, I think those are key words: confidence and experience and desire. Because when you put all those three together,
Yes,
it
yes,
does make a difference. Like that's
yes,
such a good point. I was thinking about that this week because I was like, oh, I've been doing podcasts like for a year. It's like, it's a long time, but it's not the first time that I started doing something similar. I started a YouTube channel, let's say 8 years ago or something, but it didn't go anywhere. I only did like 10 videos and that's it. But I think my answer was exactly what you just said. Yes, I was in my early 20s when I started, but right now I have the experience and I have the confidence. Therefore, it's so much easier
yes,
than when you're
yes.
just like younger. You're just like, oh, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to do it. And then you don't because of
Yeah,
doubt
no,
comes
yeah,
in.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I remember again when we were together that you were into mentoring, you were into coaching, you were always willing to help other people and trying to make a difference, not just in your job where you were great anyway, but also outside of your job and experimenting and trying and exploring new things. And I think you are on a journey to become an entrepreneur eventually as well, I guess. But I think this experimentation, exploration, um, is something that everybody can do, right? And even working
Exactly.
within a corporation, creating new products, creating new business lines, agitating, testing the market, pushing the boundaries. These are things that you can do even within a corporation before you're ready to go full time on an
Indeed.
entrepreneurial journey.
That is such a good point because, like, right now it's so relevant given the pandemic and everything. People are way more conscious about their personal finances and the risk of only having one income, e.g., your job. Because
Yeah.
anytime something can happen, like, never, no one ever thought, like, oh, there will be a pandemic, and then, like, we didn't think of that.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
it's like now there's many people trying to build things on the side, and there's a lot of people just like you and I that like they have a job, they work in corporate, but it seems like you had and knowing you, it seems like you had a strategy. It was not just oh, I work in this company because that's the next job, but it was hey, I could guess that you went from one role to the other, a company to another, with kind of the end in mind of being an entrepreneur. Therefore, that's how you assess the opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I took some risky moves and like leaving a big corporation for 10 years and then going to a 20 people startup working with you. And then I did it again 2 years later to another
yeah,
fintech startup. And always in the spirit of learning, exploring, developing more entrepreneurial, projects and ventures, because I knew that would be helpful for me in the future, but also because that's what I love doing anyway, right? So I got bored of corporate life and being a senior role in a big bank that wasn't driving me. So I went towards my passion, and I want to build a product. I want to make a difference in society. I want to help others. I want to build something. I want to work in a smaller team. So I took moves that led me closer to that position, and they were all super hard, super challenging, super tough, but they are also the best things, right?
Yeah.
They were uncomfortable, but they were the best things for me to learn, to mature, to get experience, and then the confidence to then eventually go on and think of a full-time entrepreneurial role.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And one of the things that I remember, and I can see it now that you have it since young, it's like you have a very growth mindset. And I remember both of us, like we had that thing in common as well. It's
Yes,
like
yes,
we had the growth mindset and passion for it. So people call it different ways, but like personal development, personal growth, self
yes.
mastery, however we want to call it. How what was the role of having that mindset as you were building your career as an employee? Did you use the growth mindset actively, or how did that mindset help you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think mindset is a big piece in entrepreneurial life. It's probably one of the key pieces. And yeah, I've always been very interested into personal development, coaching, self development, and all of that over the years. And I know we exchanged lots of informations and ideas and books in the past, and that was brilliant. Um, I think, but I changed and evolved a lot as well on that, especially more recently, in a good way. I think previously I was very driven, committed, and passionate, but almost like in a rational way, right? Let me build a plan. I'll go and do the plan, and then I'll get the result, and very mechanical, very rational in a way, almost
Interesting.
like I can do it all on my own and I can make it happen. But what I've learned is that there's so much more to life than that. And I think an analogy is like a surfer, right? If you're gonna go surfing, you cannot make a plan to go surfing. You need to go into the waves and surf the
Beautiful
waves.
analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to surf the waves as they come, right? And there are infinite waves, right? So I have this strong belief now about infinite possibilities in life, and that you need to be open for them, for you to serve them. So that's kind of something that I now believe. I now have a much deeper sense of faith, and gratitude about life, in a way that whatever happens, even though they might look good or might look bad, I don't judge. I just receive, accept. I'm grateful for it and try to evolve and learn and leverage and make the best out of it, because it's happening for my good.
Yeah.
And I also have a sense, which is one of the things that I've been learning more about, access consciousness, talks a lot about having a life that is all about, ease, joy, and glory. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can be easy, right? And it needs to be joyful. And when things are easy and it is joyful, then glory happens. So that clicked for me probably a couple of years ago, when I was so stressed out making this transition and being an entrepreneur and trying to manage the finances and trying to predict what was going to happen and trying to make a plan. And then I just surrendered at some point. I said surrender, and I say everything's going to be okay. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for the next steps. I raise my worries and concerns to the higher intelligence, to the higher power. And I'm sure the universe is generous. The universe will open doors for me, and things will happen that I don't even imagine. And these things started to happen. Completely unexpected things that came out of the blue, some big, some small, and things just now started to flow a lot more. So this sense of surfing, this sense of letting go, this sense of trusting, and this sense of releasing, putting yourself to the universe, and that things come to you, is the mindset shift that I adopted probably 2 years ago. That is now helping me a lot more than my old self, where I was so concerned and
Yeah.
analytical and rational.
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
that anymore. I had to evolve, and I'm so proud of this journey through podcasts, books, the Bible, lots of things that's helped me mature spiritually and from a mind perspective as well. So it's been a big journey that I'm kind of really, really proud of. Yeah. And something I want to contribute more to the world as well. I started recording some videos on Instagram last year. In the end, became so busy towards the summer I stopped. But something that I want,
Remember, I saw you.
yeah,
You used to go for a
yeah,
walk, and yes, I
exactly. I
remember.
walk with
Yes,
my dog, sharing some thoughts. So I did a few videos on that, which were great. I stopped over the summer because things got too busy, but I'll probably come back to it again at some point, sharing more because it's about contribution as well, right? When you contribute to others, and when you try to teach what you've learned, then that's the
it's
best way for you
sharing.
to learn yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's something I want to go back to. But it was a mindset shift and mindset growth and change for me over the last 2 years, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. And you're right. Like, I think I've gone through a similar journey that it was like the achieve, 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 achieve. Then
Yes.
life
Yes.
gives you a knock here and there. You wake, and
Yes.
then you're like, okay, I'm humble now. And it gives you another one, and you're like, oh, that hurt a little bit more. And then you're like, now I'm really humble. I think I'll just surrender and see where this goes.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
been in a very similar journey, and like you say, it's fascinating how little things happen here with ease and flow, and
Yes.
there is no need to have that extremely stressful life. On the contrary, if you tap into that inner joy,
Exactly. Yeah.
then everything flows a little bit more
Yes.
smoother, and
Exactly. Yeah.
that's a beautiful place to be.
Yes. Yes. That's the place to be for an entrepreneur, right? Because if you are committed and if you have 100% belief and faith no matter what, and you have a relaxed mindset because you just trust deep inside that things are going to happen in unexpected ways but in good ways, and if you're open and if you start from that place, that's where things start to flow. And then the opposite is true as well. If you start with a place of fear or concern, of being too rational, analytical about things, then things don't flow.
Yes.
So yeah,
So, oh, I'm so glad because we never had this level of conversation like five
true,
years ago
true,
because we were
yeah,
not in that space, but now both of us are.
true,
So,
yes,
what is with this new level of understanding and this new mindset? It's two questions. What is your definition of happiness and what is your definition of success? I'm very curious to hear that because mine has changed a lot.
yes, yes. Yeah, that's something that I reflect, all the time. I have my, notebook, and what is my purpose, what is my values. That's something that I'm always reviewing. My values as well. I had a list of 15 values. Now it's only five. Right? I helped. What are the top five things that I really value in my life? So I kind of tighten them up and really reflected and make sure they are the right ones. For me, if I were to summarize, I think I like to think that I am on a magic path, the divine plan for my life. That's kind of, it starts with that. I'm in the right path. It is a divine plan for my life. Um, I trust these infinite possibilities that will come to be. And I have a purpose, right? It's all about purpose. And my purpose is to enjoy life, in all its glory and contribute generously and creatively to the world, right? If I can live this purpose every day and have fun and help others with creativity and generosity, then the same will happen to me. For me, it's as simple as that. It's all about this purpose of empowering, helping, making a difference with creativity, generosity, and lightness. And once that happens, you are in a good place, and you don't need to seek happiness because you are living with peace and ease, and you
Yes.
are making a difference day in, day out, and then you attract good things as well that come out of that, because whatever you give, it's what you receive, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I try to think. Yeah.
Oh, I love the transformation. It's a different level. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I've been thinking, of course, like I spent many months on my own during lockdown. Asia was intense when it came to
Yes,
lockdown, so I had a lot of time to be in the house, let's say. And then many times I did think like some days were very difficult, and others I was like at so much peace. And then as part of that, I also did a meditation instructor program. I did a breathing pranayama teacher program. And I think doing all those things at the end of last year, I was like, I think my definition of happiness changed. I think it's exactly what you just said. It's just being at peace
yes,
with
yes,
everything. And then if you're at peace, then everything it's like you say, with ease and flow and grace, and
yes,
you don't get
absolutely.
triggered as much. Of course, once in a while you do
Yeah,
get triggered, but it's totally different. When you're at peace,
yes, yes.
then life flows in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes people put such high kind of dreams and goals up there, right? That becomes an obsession and it's something that is out there years away, which is great to have, right? The direction and a goal and all of that. But if you're obsessed and only driven by something that is years away, then life become a bit, stressful. And whereas if you live a day at a time and if you have, a direction and if you have a purpose and if you go with ease and fun and lightness and you create every day, then I think it's a much better approach to life, right? And also being open to what's out there that comes up out of the blue. And these are the best things, right? When you're
Yes,
open to the universe and you're open to possibilities that come your way and take advantage of those. That's the best thing. I learned a lot as well from Florence Kovoshin. I'm not sure if you know her. It was a writer from nearly 100 years ago. And one of these things she says is about intention versus intuition, right? So if you focus too much on intention, your desires and your wills, it's okay. But the really interesting thing is to listen to the intuition and the hunch, right?
yeah,
When it's good to have a goal and what you want, but you need to be open and alert to the intuition and the hunches that will come your way, even though they might sound a bit crazy and weird.
weird.
If you
Yes,
take this step towards
yes,
the hunch and the rear doors that open to you, that's where things
yes.
really start to happen.
And I think that's key because it's like being open to your intuition is listening to your own voice because it's you kind of like telling you something, and usually you just like disregard it. But sometimes it's like you just know, you just have to be kind of connected with you and
Yes.
be like, hey, this thought came in, and that happened to me today, like properly. And I was like, oh, now that sounds a bit crazy. And then I was like, oh no, maybe that's not crazy. Maybe that
Yeah.
is what I need to do. It's my intuition. I'm like, oh, definitely, yes, I'm doing that. Yeah, so
Yes.
following the intuition, I agree with you. It's an art as well,
Yes.
and I find it is well for me that I have a very demanding job. It's not. It does require some sort of energy or intent to reconnect to that peaceful place and intuition
Yes.
and really listening to yourself. Otherwise, it's so easy to get carried away with life
Agree.
and work
Yeah.
and stress. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, for me, it's a walk with my dog, Hope. It's the moment that I can leave the house for half an hour, go around the block and listen to a music or a podcast and just reconnect, recenter, and be, awake and listening. Because you're right, if it's just a day to day, it's just too busy, then you're not open to the crazy ideas and thoughts and hunches that come to your mind. So you need to, it's helpful, I think, to make the time in a week or to take
Yeah.
time for yourself. Yeah.
I have a question that sometimes people back home are like, what? But I would love to hear your perspective on this. I believe that the universe gives us hints and messages, and it's constantly
Yes.
communicating with us. Yes, I knew you were going to say yes. How do you listen to those messages?
I think first of all we need to pay attention, right? Because these thoughts may come and you just ignore it because they might look or sound a bit weird. So I think paying attention is important first of all, so that you're open for those messages to
Yeah.
come. Um, then when they come, to be curious about them, right? Explore and have a think, have a look, and just take the step, right? Even if it makes sounds weird, then just explore. There's something in there that I probably need to have a look, or I need to explore. I need to make that phone call, or I need to search, and just go for it. Go for it, even though it might sound a bit weird.
Oh, that
Um,
is your word. You used to tell me that all the time. Go for it. Go for it. Go for
yes,
it.
yes.
Yes, just go for
It's
it.
amazing. Go for it. Yeah. Yes. I think especially when it sounds counterintuitive, right? Because if you follow the rational mind, and the rational mind says don't go for it, then that's an interesting thing to pay attention and to reflect on, right? Because when we are too rational and too down to earth on something, then and then when a hunch or an intuition comes up that conflicts with that, and that's where it's interesting to consider, because maybe that's exactly what you need to do, or exactly what you need to explore and be open for these possibilities.
Yeah, it's like definitely.
And make the time, right? As I said, for me it's go for a walk, a few times a week. For some people could be a meditation. For some people could be go for a swim, or
Yeah,
each person is
exercise.
different, but
Yeah,
making the time for yourself is so important. And because that's where you're open to reflect and for ideas to come.
yeah, that's such a good point. And also, like, I'd like to add, also listen properly to the words. Many times I have conversation, let's say with you or somebody, like random conversations, and they say something, and I'm like, oh, that's the thing that I needed to hear today. Oh, that's what the universe is trying to tell me. It's
Yeah,
probably somebody else said something. For example, you just said, go for it. And I'm like, I wrote it
yes.
down. I'm like, that's what I had to, that's what the universe is telling me. Just go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, yeah. And you can feel this in your body as well, right? When these moments
exactly.
come. I
Exactly.
remember
You
when
just
I was,
know.
yeah, I remember when I was in São Paulo, thinking about coming to London, and I slept. I think it was an afternoon that I, went for a nap, and when I woke up, I just felt in my body, you have to go. Sounds a bit crazy, but just go. And when I was living at HSBC as well, 10 years career, I had a really good position, and this opportunity of this fintech came about, which was 20 people company, super small, super
Without a
uncertain,
name.
without a name,
When I Johnny didn't have a name.
without anything, without a contract, without people. It was just an
Just
idea,
an
an
idea.
idea.
And
Yeah.
crazy people.
And I just had this feeling in my body, just go for it. I don't know why. Rationally speaking, it doesn't make sense, but emotionally, and the feeling that it is the thing that came out of the blue was a phone call from a headhunter, and
Exactly.
then the more I explored, the more I had a good feeling, and in the end was a brilliant experience. Very tough as it was for you as well. It was crazy busy, and lots of ups and downs. Was super challenging, but it was the best thing. Right, it was the best thing because that opened the doors for another thing. That opened the doors to another thing, and one thing leads to another. And yes,
And like,
yes.
how did that experience prepare you to be an entrepreneur? What did you learn when you were building a bank from scratch? And it was not how to set up this complex system. It was not technology. It was not banking.
Yeah,
What did you learn from those years?
And that's it that you can only answer looking backwards, right? And I know, I think Steve Jobs in one of his kind of speeches says that you can only understand life if you join the dots, but looking hindsight, right? You only know a few years later, right? You don't know on the spot what's happening and what's ahead of you. You never know. So I learned a lot in terms of entrepreneurial life. At this company, we went from 20 people to 100 people, right, in a space of 2 years, and it was massive in terms of changes, processes, policies, culture. And that's exactly what I'm living through right now in my current company, because we were 20 people a year ago, we're now at 50, and the people that are there, my team that is there, they've never experienced it before. So for them, it's just challenging, right?
Huge growth.
And
Yes,
and for me,
totally.
I've done it twice actually, because after the place we worked together, I did another stint for another 2 years at another fintech venture, going from 20 to 70 people in the space of 2 years. So I've done it twice. I'm doing now for the third time, but now I'm leading
But
the
your
thing.
own.
I
Yes.
am. I am owning the thing, yeah, jointly with my partner. So it prepared me to go to the scale up experience, and all the
Yeah.
ups and downs and all the challenges, all the pains, and all the joys. It prepared me for sure. But at that time, I would have never known that was a preparation. I wouldn't. I wouldn't know. I just
No,
knew.
you don't
I just
know.
had this dream of one day owning my own business, blah blah blah. But I didn't know at the time that was preparing me. I just knew and felt deep inside that I had to be there for some reason, and I trusted that, and I went for it like you did, and yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. So now, if we look at the present, let's say you have this agency with your wife.
Yes.
How is it, like, how's the dynamic of building, because it's not a small business, it's a proper business. She's been working on it
Yes.
before, then you joined.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
how's the dynamic, how does that work?
Yeah, that's another unique side of my story.
Yeah.
So when we had our son Antonio, 7 years ago, and then Mara, my wife, took maternity leave, and then when she was coming back, she said, "No, I don't want to go back to corporate life. I want to start my own thing." And I supported her since the beginning, gave her, my emotional support, obviously, as a husband, but also, helping her as an advisor, as much as I could, more from an admin financial side, since the beginning. But she did such an amazing job over, the first 3-4 years of the company, growing the team, growing the clients, and building from scratch, and landing some amazing clients. That was just unbelievable. So it was an incredible journey, going from one person to, I think, 15, which was
Yeah.
the beginning of last year. So yeah, just over. So in 3.5 years, she went from 0 to 15 people and five big clients. That was the first part. And I was always advising, helping, of course, and seeing the growth, and equally getting increasingly excited myself, being a husband, and seeing a business coming from within the family.
That's exciting.
So I was sensing the excitement, and again, based on my own entrepreneurial spirit, I was feeling more and more that could be the thing for me as well. Eventually, at some point, um, and that point came. Yeah, early. Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be nearly 2 years now. A year and a half ago, that the moment was right. I had another career change at a bank, and I thought I could take on another role within a bank and continue the journey to become a senior leader at the corporation, which could be a very,
That's a
good
possibility.
path.
Yeah.
Or I could take the risk and go all in the family business and work together with my wife and go for it. And the hunch and the intuition and the feeling in my body was to go for it, and then I went for it, and it's been the best thing. So we complement each other very well, for sure. That's very good for us and for the business. So we have different skills. She's a brilliant communicator, a brilliant marketeer, a brilliant strategist, and just a visionary, passionate entrepreneur. And I'm kind of the opposite. I'm the yin and yang. Yeah, I'm more of the Buddha, more of the business guy. I'm creative as well, of course, but I'm more of the business
It's
builder,
more,
where she's
yes.
more of the creative builder. So we kind of complement
Yeah.
each other very well.
Yeah.
So we have little overlap in the day to day. So she looks after some teams and people. I look after some other teams and people. But of course, we need to work together. But we find ways to dissociate family life and business life. For example, we don't talk much about business in the evenings or weekends.
Yeah.
At home, we often, I'm either here at home and she's there, or the other way around. So physically, we're not present all the time because we are focused on different things. Of course, once or twice a week, we have to catch up. And we're now forming a leadership team now where it's not just Bruno and Mara anymore, but it's a leadership team that is
Yes.
forming. So it's
Oh,
about
that's
a
amazing.
strong leadership team that is going to lead the thing, not just the two of us anymore. And we're going to step away a bit more. So yeah, we have strategies to conciliate, but we are very proud of the teamwork as well, because together we make a really strong team because we bring different skills to the table. But it can be challenging at times, no question. It's not all 100% easy.
Yes.
It's
Well,
always,
even if
there
it's
are
not your
challenges, of
wife,
course.
like working with
Yes,
people is
yes,
challenging. Yes.
yes. But on balance, it's worth it, and we love it, and we on balance, it's a lot more positive than not. So it's definitely working, I'd say.
Amazing. Cool. So for anyone who's thinking of starting a business with your partner, it is feasible. It's
Yeah, it is
possible.
definitely
It
possible.
is,
Yeah.
yeah,
And again, we've been trialing for years, right? Because I was supporting her as an advisor
it's
first,
gradual. Yeah.
gradual. So we started, wasn't that overnight? We started working together. So I was always there helping and assisting and with her, and we could experience, how it was first very little, and then a little bit more, and then get to a point that it became full time. So I think the spirit of experimentation, it applies to career as well, right? As we were talking
Yeah.
before about growth mindsets, experimenting in a career is something that
It's
I really
important.
recommend.
Yeah.
Moving to a different team, doing something you've never done before, trying and taking, calculated risks, and rather than just avoiding, massive jumps. But sometimes you do need massive jumps, but the more you experience and try to experiment, the better, because
The
it gives
better.
you the confidence and the knowledge if it's for you or not. And that's what I recommend my team to do as well all the time. Go try something different, go do a rotation, go, just keep learning, keep experimenting, and then you eventually will learn what you like, what you don't like, and what's up for you and what's not up to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I like that. Keep learning, keep
And that's something that
experimenting.
you
Go
do a
for
lot
it.
as well, right? Because
Yes, I
you
do
you
a lot
made
of
some
that.
big jumps from Mexico to
Well,
London to
Alicia.
Malaysia, and
Yeah,
adding
it's
some
been a
side
ride.
projects. So you are a big
Yeah.
experimenter as well, which
Yes, I
I
am.
love about you too. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. I agree with you. It's like it's about learning, but it's not learning theory from the book. It's about experiencing the learning and experimenting. And yes, you'll fall many times. You will.
Yes. Yes.
But it's part of the getting up. It's
Yes.
it's part of the journey. You learn a lot in the getting up.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that's where you learn basically. if you
exactly.
don't
That's
if
where
you
you
don't
learn.
fail, yeah, if you're not failing, it means you're not trying, and then if you're not failing and trying, you're not learning and evolving. So you have to be open to fail, to struggle, to fall, and then to get up again, but always in a gracious way. That's what I'm kind of being learning and evolving myself. Bringing the grace and bringing the empathy for others and for yourselves, that that's okay, right? And that's actually the only way is to embrace these experimentations and these waves. And the waves might, come
Surfing.
over
Yeah,
you most of the times, but eventually you surf the wave.
that is so true.
Yes,
Okay, so coming back to the business, like you guys have grown the business. Like I've been following you on LinkedIn. So you guys have grown the business. Like it's doing well, it is global, it is very vibrant, it's very exciting, it's
yes,
very relevant. Like I love the brand as such. It is cool.
yes.
So when it comes to anyone who's listening and as a want to be entrepreneur or someone who's at the beginning of the journey, or well, anyone for that matter, because everything is changing so fast. What do you think are the key? I don't know. I don't even know what's the question. Like what? Okay, let me just change the question altogether. Like you have a marketing agency that's doing really well and you know a lot of things that I don't know. Basically, that's why I'm struggling with the right question.
Yes.
Therefore, for all these people who are trying to build a business, what's the thing that you would tell them from a marketing perspective?
Mhm, mhm. What I'd say is, I think first of all, it all starts with relationships, right? I think it's business, but it's actually about people, right? And if you're clear about that, then when you think about clients, that's where the focus should be in terms of building relationships with your clients, which means getting to know your clients or your prospective clients, understand their needs, understand their goals, and then naturally you're going to learn how you can help them, right? But if you're not interested in them as people, them as business, their needs, their pains and their goals and their dreams, then you won't be able to fulfill. And then when you are truly interested and when you build these relationships and this trust with your clients, then that's where business start to work because you're really helping, you're really serving, and you're really making a difference. The same applies to the team, right? It's all about relationships with the team, understanding the team, supporting the team, empowering the team. Because if you do that in the same way that you do with your clients, then they will treat the clients in the way that you want as well, right? So we call that empowering. That's why it's in the name, MGEmpower, right? So we say empower people and brands to go above and beyond. That's what we say. So it's about empowerment, giving them power, taking them to the next level. But to empower, you need to create the relationship, you need to create the trust, you need to create the knowledge and the understanding. But it's all about people. And then when you create, that's when you empower. And empower for me is about making a difference, right? Is making dreams come true. Is it about creating true differentiation, in your product, in your services, and doing the same for your clients? And when you do that in an authentic way, in an innovative way that only you can do, then I think that's it. Then magic happens and things
Yeah,
flow. Yeah,
yeah.
these are
And then just
my
okay,
key thoughts. It's people, it's
yes,
empowerment, and it's about making a difference in a differentiated way.
which is so interesting. If I hear to what you said from the ears of a listener who's trying to work out the Instagram algorithm or the TikTok thing and trying to learn all these tactics.
Yeah.
Basically, you're saying, hey, go and build relationships, go and
Yes.
build trust first. And it can be done online, it can be done in
Yes.
Instagram and TikTok and all these platforms. That's what I
Exactly.
heard.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly.
focus on
Exactly
that
that.
first.
Exactly. Focus on that first. Understand your audience or understand your clients. Add value to them in a genuine, way that you're really helping. Making a difference in their lives, giving content, giving support, and then of course, if they become clients, you know, even more, right? We have this concept internally, above and beyond, which is kind of our mantra, hashtag above and beyond. So, and that's the secret of our success, I think, right? We don't just deliver a campaign and off you go next. And there are many agencies out there that is that. They're just a middleman campaign, build, off you go, next. And for us, it's exactly the opposite. It's about building relationships with clients, becoming even best friends. And we are best friends with some of our biggest clients. and going above and beyond for them, right? Innovating, thinking about things they haven't thought of before, and really adding value, generally adding value to them. And because when you do that, then results come, then you build trust, and then you build, authority, and then you refer others, and then things just, flow from there. So yeah, start with the client, start with the value, start with the relationships, add value above and beyond the norm, and then things will flow.
That sounds amazing. And then it is so interesting because I'm just thinking, I'm conscious of time. And at the same time, I was like, oh, we'll talk about marketing and we'll talk about this and your story. And we went into all these topics.
Yeah.
Diversity of topics, super deep, super interesting. And the advice on marketing as such, it is coming back to the basics. That it doesn't
Yes. Yes.
surprise me because given the conversation that we had in the middle about like following your intuition, being connected with the universe,
Yes.
being kinder, being more peaceful. Of course, it's like that. Of course, the
It's the same in business.
lens
It's the same in business. Yeah.
applies for business. So
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah. And
about learning
for
the
marketing as
algorithm.
well. Yeah. 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 Being authentic, being your true self, and yeah, empowering others, and being at peace, with calm and a smile, and yeah, that's where you attract clients and you attract your team, and grow with them. That's definitely in line. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But yeah, it does feel like we could go for another hour, and
I
I could even interview
know.
you. Maybe if I create a podcast, you'll be my first guest as well, because you
Oh,
have lots of
amazing.
lessons
Yeah.
and stories, and I think we have similarities in our journeys as well,
Yes,
international
we do.
and
Yes, we do.
entrepreneurial spirit and personal development.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
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 we could
yes, we
go on
do.
for
We do.
another few
I know.
hours.
I
Yeah.
know we could. I know we could. Before we go, this is something that I have not shared publicly, but I'll share it with you. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a little accident at home. I got electrocuted. Like,
Wow.
it was horrible. And that's like a
Okay.
whole story that I need to tell at some point. But that thing, it was strong, but I was like, oh my God, I'm alive. I'm not in the hospital. I don't have any burns, but it was
Yes.
extremely intense and painful and everything. But that little thing kind of like that
Yes.
energy
Yes.
did
Yes.
something. And I was like, it's energy. I have to do something with that energy. That's the message. There is like
Yes. Yes.
energy that we need to use because at the
Literally
end of the
energy.
day, I know, I know it's like proper
Literally energy.
energy. Yes,
Yes.
like
Yes.
proper voltage energy running through my
Yes.
body. Yeah,
Yes.
and I don't know why I was going to say that, but yeah, it's about like listening to those signs, listening to
Yes.
whatever the
Yes.
universe is telling you. Yeah,
No, it's all about energy. No, in this case, literally about energy.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I had a few episodes myself as well last year where just kind of reminders, sometimes scary reminders, right, or accidents or things that happen. And if you try to look at the some of the noble purposes or the higher purpose that came out of this situation, there's always something. There's always something. I had COVID now in the beginning of the year, and we had to stay isolated in a hotel in Brazil. And I was convinced, there is a higher purpose for this. I don't know what, but there is. And I asked for a sign, and the sign appeared. So there were a couple of breakthroughs that came out of the blue from this experience of being isolated from 10 days that were just incredible. So boring and difficult experience, but two things came out of that with a higher purpose. And so again, you just need to be attentive, and then yeah, go for it.
So, what would you think is the overall message out of this conversation that we've crafted, basically? What do you think is the key message?
Ooh, key message. I think the key message, based on everything we said, is about energy and mindset, which it has to start with the energy and the mindset and the peace. And so you have to start in a good place for things to happen and not the other way around, right? Because that's how I used to think in the past, where when my life falls into place, when I achieve A, B, and C, then I'll be in a good place and I'll be happy and I'll be fulfilled. It's actually the opposite. You need to feel grateful, you need to
But yes,
feel good, and you need to feel at peace, and you need to feel energized. And because of that, then things will happen. So it's completely the other way around. So maybe that's how I would summarize our chat. Would you agree?
I think so. Yeah, and I was thinking, oh, you just did a great summary. I couldn't do it better. It's like that is just perfect. Amazing. Well, Bruno, it's been an absolute pleasure, super pleasure
Likewise.
having you
Likewise,
in
my
the
dear.
show. Before we go, where can people find you and your agency and follow you and your journey?
MGEmpower.com. That's our website. You can find me on Instagram as well, Bruno Genovese, LinkedIn too. But yeah, drop me a line. I'd love to have more conversations for sure.
Yes, amazing. Well,
Thank you very much,
everyone,
Moni. It's me that
thank you.
thanks. Really appreciate the invite. I really enjoyed our conversation. And as I said, we could go on for ages. So yeah, maybe we'll do a take two one day. Yeah, I'll
We
interview
should,
you.
yeah, we should do take two.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank
Thank
you,
you, my
Bruno, so
dear.
much.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Talk to you
And
later.
everyone, have an amazing week ahead and see you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.